It's to the top of the hour. Welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live here on the bench with Murang'a Senator Irungu Kang'ata and Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. Gentlemen, good to see you. Thanks so much for your time. Happy Post Madaraka once again.
You're most welcome, Jeff.
Has reggae stopped? Senator, reggae, imesimama?
Yes, indeed. And for me, I don't foresee reggae coming back. This is gospel time.
And you're a former DJ, so you know this.
Yes, I can tell you.
Not even a DJ.
Yes.
This is the classic example of Saul to Paul. The person who was doing the DJing is the one talking about reggae. Can you imagine?
I can tell you it is gospel time now.
Reggae is gone, finished.
Yeah, finished completely. We now talk about gospel music.
Hey. Senator?
No, it's not over yet until somebody sings.
And you're not going to say who sings?
And I won't say.
It's not over yet?
It's not over yet.
Come on. Look at the timeline. Appeal scored now. We'll hear this case when? Later this month.
Later, the end of the month.
End of the month, which will take 2, 3, 5 days.
4 days.
Their ruling will take?
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
That's into July?
Into July, yes.
Supreme Court almost?
No. The hearing, to the best of my knowledge, will be completed in early July.
Okay.
Then I see a mention to confirm filing of submissions. That would be, let's say, early August. And then I foresee a judgment date in September.
And what do you
all factors
September, which is of course.
Now what do you call that? That's not dombolo. That's still reggae.
No.
That's still reggae.
No, you know what happens?
Yes.
The effect of that.
Yes.
It means the key substratum of BBI bill dies, which is additional constituencies. Article 89, Sub-Article 2 and Sub-Article 4 of the Constitution provides that if you want to create constituencies that are going to have to come into effect before the next election, do that 1 year before a general election. So if for any reason that judgment comes about, let's say in September 2021, then you have breached that proviso. And therefore, you will have BBI without constituencies. And without constituencies, then BBI is dead.
Whoa, let's come back to yesterday. The president literally attacking the judiciary. It was an attack on the judiciary.
Literally, yes.
In fact, one of the headlines today was judiciary on the cross. What do you think of that? Does that put undue pressure?
It's not, only that you don't expect it to come from him. That he will be the one to issue such statements. One, of course, as the head of the executive and head of state, because it can easily be misconstrued as if he's looking for a certain determination. Now, I mean, being a client, assume he's a client. The person who you should be blaming is his lawyer, who should tell his client that you should not talk about your case in that manner. Because this morning, the lawyers representing all the parties were in court. Two, what is even more dangerous in my view, and I've said that I disagree with some of the findings of the High Court, is that the court said that he cannot be a promoter. So the more they continue talking about it, they look as if they are the pseudo-promoters, which is also very dangerous. But more importantly for me as a legal practitioner, but it's not unlike them. You remember the minute the Supreme Court overturned the election, 2017, they came up with this Wakora Network hashtag. It's not unlike them to do so. It's actually dangerous. It's actually a threat to the judiciary. And because what would happen, assuming, one, they rule in his favor, or a rule in favor of the promoters, it will look as if it is a contrived ruling. They rule against, it looks as if they disobeyed him, which is an event you do not want to have. So ideally, you shouldn't make such comments, because if he points to our senior Senator Irungu as a person who believes that he can change the course of the High Court ruling, ideally you should have faith in your lawyers to do your case without necessarily you interfering. If you find your client in the marketplace talking, it means it's time for you to be fired.
Senator, what did you think?
You see, democracy is about protecting the weak, the poor, and the common person. And you must understand the dynamics of political power. Always power tends to oppress the weak And the function of judiciary, the function of law is to constrain power. So when you see the president, the most powerful person in this Republic of Kenya, attacking judiciary, for me it's so sad, because the effect of that, you are now negating the institution that has been created to constrain power. And that to me is negative. It tends to make those institutions become a little bit weak. And therefore, to that extent, I will be urging my colleagues in judiciary, please stand firm, protect the weak, protect the voiceless.
No.
Yeah, no. It is important.
It's good to hear Kang'ata, being a new convert about institutions and the judiciary and being very polite. Now that he's no longer
a different man.
This man was Saul. He persecuted us before he found his way. But the point is this: the institution of the judiciary and the protection we have given the judiciary under the 2010 Constitution cannot be intimidated by statements of that nature. It cannot be. We have moved on to a situation where you threaten judges because you can't remove them if they disagree with you. The point is this: one, somebody should have been alert that if you have Justice Odunga on a bench, if you have Justice Joel Ngui on a bench, you better get good lawyers in court. Because judges, unlike the rest of us, don't read newspapers. You don't go to court and say, by the way, did you read the headline? Or did you watch what Kang'ata said on JKL yesterday?
They don't watch?
They are not moved by what Kang'ata is going to do here. If you go to court, you make a presentation. If you file a small little document like I was told that was filed in response to some of the huge cases and huge documents, you don't expect the court to imagine what you wanted to say in court when you don't say it. And therefore, I think on my part, I think the Attorney General let down the president to the extent that I don't think they took the case in the High Court seriously, because it should not have come to this position. But more importantly, for purposes of constitutional making process and following the 2010 framework that we used, and the country will miss the then Justice Minister, because he could see this, and therefore projected by the time you do 2010 Constitution, you prepare for elections, you have a timeline to have enabling legislation. Because while we are talking about the referendum, we still need time to put enabling legislation, to breathe into life the constitutional amendment provisions that are there in the constitutional amendment bill. I mean, we will be running from pillar to post, day and night. Kang'ata will be laughing or shouting, one of the two or both, in the Senate throughout, because we're going to have a lot of work to do.
But you see,
Go ahead.
But you see, what surprised me is the reaction by the executive towards this judgment, whereas this is not a really shocking judgment. Most of the findings that you find in that judgment, these are the things that several lawyers said about BBI. A good example is the majority report by the Joint Committee of the National Assembly and the Senate. I am a member, my colleague here is
the one you dissented or refused, abstained from?
Yeah, I'm the only one who
abstained.
For some other reason. But when you look at the majority report, which incidentally Lawyer Orengo signed, Otiende Omolo signed, and I can see they are now representing opposing views at the Court of Appeal, you find major paragraphs saying that BBI is unconstitutional.
No.
So, no, it is true. Look at pages 150 to about 170
on what,
that report.
On what exactly?
No, one, they says the second schedule of BBI is unconstitutional.
The clause, yes.
Yeah, it says that.
Not the process.
Of course, I'm talking about the second schedule. Yeah, this is unconstitutional. They also says that the judiciary ombudsman is unconstitutional.
No, it doesn't say so.
So the point is, Parliament confirmed the unconstitutionality of some parts of BBI. Various lawyers who sit in that committee, and they signed that report, including my friend here, Mutula Kilonzo. He signed.
You didn't attend meetings.
No.
Please.
No. Allow me to finish. Allow me to finish.
No, let me tell you.
Allow me to finish. Yes. Please go read pages 150 of that report up to about 170. You will see several places where they say BBI is defective legally on this one, on this one, on this one. In fact, again, go look at the submissions that were done on the floor of the Senate by various legal counsels, including chairman of the legal committee of the Senate, that is
but it's
Mr.
still passed
Omogeni.
unanimously. What do you
Of course, exactly. It shows people were intimidated. They would stand up and say this thing is unconstitutional. Yeah, but then again, they would receive a phone call.
That's how you...
No, it is a fact. No, look here.
No,
my friend.
That's allegations.
No, it's a fact.
No, that's what he used to...
No, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
He was deep state.
No.
He used to intimidate us.
I don't understand.
We are still being intimidated.
No. Listen. I don't understand how a honorable senator can stand on the plenary of the Senate, say this bill has a problem, including senior lawyers like Moses Wetangula, senior lawyers like Omogeni. They saying, oh, this BBI has a problem. But when it comes to voting, they vote yes. It's only judiciary that had temerity to say no. This thing
That's the price of democracy. Senator, you mentioned a moment ago the nullification of the 2017 election. Remember?
Yes.
By Supreme Court. The president, said, look, it was very costly. But isn't democracy costly?
Everything is costly. Everything is costly. In fact, I sat in the Joint Select Committee of National Assembly and Senate, then chaired by now Governor Kiraitu and Senator Orengo, which came up with a law that led to the nullification of this election. We did a law to the extent that if you mess around with our elections, we were going to catch you. And that is what the Court of Appeal, Supreme Court found, that where you don't transmit the results properly, those results then cannot be said to be credible. But this can't go, I must respond to him. The committee was very clear about the process. He said, and very clear about the process, and also clear about certain clauses, and says we were very clear to say that, but that the promoters have every right to have 300, to have extra 70 constituencies, but they cannot go ahead and then prescribe where the 70 constituencies are going to be. That is a work that is supposed to be done by somebody else. Where you have the JSC with the power to petition the president to remove a judge, you cannot give then the same JSC the power to suspend a judge without following the process that is in another clause. This is what some of my colleagues were saying, and we continue to say so. But in the question as to who can be a promoter, as to whether this is a popular initiative, we answered those questions, all of them positively. And by the time we finished, my good friend here, Senator Kang'ata, of course said, I will not sign this report. He took off, but he was there with us, when we were making those determinations. And when we called experts, Senator Kang'ata was also there. Two experts to explain how ideally this should have been in terms of a document, how you popularize. Because ask yourself this question: why would the Constitution of Kenya under Article 257 talk about a promoter? Who is a promoter? A promoter is anybody. And that's why it's not a company, it's not an individual, it could be anything. It could even be amorphous, provided it's a promoter. The condition of a popular initiative, Jeff, and that's why we failed in Okoa, Kenya, because the Kang'ata then, when they were in the previous regime, made sure that our books had rhinos, small rhinos, elephants, and not signatures, and we were unable to comply. Because the condition for a popular initiative is there are 1 million signatures. The minute you meet the threshold of 1 million, it becomes a popular initiative. Period.
So you think the High Court was being a little personal here? Or?
A little, not a little, too personal. Too personal. And that is the portions of the judgment I say I don't agree with. But my training tells me I will restrain myself until the persons who are in court arguing can make an argument as to who a promoter is.
Senator, let's go back to the attack on the judiciary. It seemed like it. If you were Chief Justice Martha Koome right now, first week in office, and already you've seen on Madaraka Day the judiciary is being attacked by the executive, what would you be thinking?
I'll be very sad, because I think that's an affront to democracy and the principle of separation of powers. I strongly believe that judiciary is the custodian of our political and democratic values, and therefore most likely I'll be minded to issue a press statement denouncing any attack on judiciary. And I want to laud the former Chief Justice David Maraga. He will go down in the history of this republic as one of the most progressive and brave Chief Justice. He was very firm when it came to matters of judiciary, and therefore I would urge the current CJ also to come out strongly and say judiciary is going to render justice fairly without any form of intimidation.
What are your thoughts, Senator?
The Chief Justice has already spoken this afternoon. I saw a clip where the Chief Justice was clear that the standards that they apply in the Supreme Court are the standards that are going to apply in the Court of Appeal. In fact, most people should watch these proceedings very carefully. The Court of Appeal now is actually easily the Supreme Court of Kenya. You have one of the most brilliant judges in the country. It's not a light matter. And the thing about it is this. The Supreme Court has 7 judges. The Court of Appeal is now sitting with seven judges. It's not something to take very lightly. It's something that is, whatever the outcome is going to change the jurisprudence of this country. And some of us who participated in the process with my good friend Kang'ata and members of the National Assembly would like a legal determination of some of these issues that that have been raised, because they are important. We did not put a constitution that we cannot amend. It would be a fallacy that you would put such stringent conditions on amending a constitution which belongs to the people of Kenya. You must be able to amend. So the question is, what is the A to Z of constitutional amendment?
But
so therefore, I personally think that while some of people thought that once a document like this under Article 257 can come to Parliament, like Kang'ata, you want to amend, you want to change clause B, you want to put what you want. Those are some of the determinations we want, so that we understand why the promoters and the people who put the 2010 constitution structured it that way. And remember, we are coming from an old constitution where a president could stand up in a podium and say, okay, by the way, we have just decided to go and amend a section, this put the other. Now there are certain sections of this constitution and articles that are protected. That means then you go back to the public when you need to amend them.
But one of the things that the judges in the High Court did, which I think my colleagues seems not to appreciate, is to put a distinguishing mark between what we call constituted power and constitutive power. That is, you must put a difference between a powerful politician like the president and the common mwananchi, the boda, the mama mboga, because if you put them at an equal pedestal, surely that is very unfair. It's not practical. So
the president is not a human being?
No, he is a human being, but from a political science point of view and a legal and a constitutional point of view, he is not in the same pedestal as a common person.
So he can't propose anything? He can't?
No, he can.
How is that possible?
He can, definitely. But he has to use what we call parliamentary route. What? Yeah, of course.
How?
Because, let me tell you. You know why? Because we all know governments and their nature. In any event, by the way,
we know governments. You have been in government. Say you know, you are in government. You are deep state.
In it.
Yeah, so say how you operate.
Yes, indeed. By the way,
yes. How do you operate?
You are inside.
Guys, yes.
Yes, it is true. In fact, I was a chief whip.
Yes.
I know how government operates.
Yes.
And I know governments abuse power. And I know if you allow governments to use popular initiative to introduce amendment to the constitution, you are setting a very bad precedent in this republic. They will be bulldozing the agenda through that route. They will be unraveling the constitution through that route. I know the common mwananchi will be stifled. He'll be oppressed through that route.
No.
Okay. So you need to constrain, and you lock out that door and say, no, this door is for the mama mboga, for the farmer, for the poor person in Makueni. Yeah? You understand? That person, once he feels this constitution is so oppressive, he can then organize and propose to amend the constitution.
When you are minority whip, would you have ever, majority whip,
yeah.
Would you have ever thought in this,
like this
line of...
By the way, this gentleman threatened us so many times. When we were doing the revenue sharing formula, he said, we are going to stop reggae. If you don't pass this formula, we're going to stop. This reggae is going to stop. He kept threatening us in church functions, in weddings. But Jeff, it's not possible.
Listen.
That you can say, logically, the way they have structured it, Jeff Koinange, you can't walk out in the street and look for 1 million signatures. You must have some element of political influence.
Right.
To be able to marshal that sort of critical mass. You see?
Yeah.
As CORD, we had an initiative which stalled somewhere along the way because of the thresholds that were put there. So you can't say that Mama Mwikali somewhere in Kadhonzweni can wake up and start a popular initiative. That will be demeaning the constitution.
It'll never work.
Now, in the election laws itself, there are provisions under Section 45 for the president to ask the IBC to conduct a referendum on anything. Now, how is that any different from a president, a good-meaning president, saying, can we change clause A, B, C, D? Because he is also part of the sovereign Article 1. Now, he is also the symbol of unity under the Constitution. The only person, not even the flag, who is named as a symbol of national unity is a person in the office of the president. So who is at a better position to propose issues that would ideally bring the country together from a bird's eye view, other than a person sitting as president? When you limit that power, you're saying, let Kang'ata, and I can tell you, you know the way Kang'ata promotes his candidate in the Tangatanga is, you know, if Tangatanga were in government, he would not say the same thing. He's just saying, because now he's seated somewhere in the cold, he's basking outside the gate somewhere and knocking, and nobody's listening to him.
Oh,
you know that sort of thing.
Tell me something, Senator. Looking at the timeline right now, is there a possibility of a referendum before 2022, before the elections? Is there a possibility? Could it happen?
From a legal point of view, definitely it is possible. But of course, to push BBI agenda, definitely that will be problematic, because now if for any reason, and most likely a judgment will be rendered past 8th of August this year, definitely the essence of BBI will have died, and therefore from a practical point of view, BBI most likely is dead.
But you said from a legal point of view,
yeah, of course. You see, you see,
there's legalese, and then there's the other part.
No, they can assume, for instance, some of the articles which are problematic in BBI, they are severed, they are taken out of BBI, so that you have maybe a refined or a shorter version of BBI. Maybe they can still proceed with the referendum, but of course there are practical problems also. Yeah, there are practical problems that I foresee, and also moral issues. I strongly believe this country should be discussing about COVID, should be pumping money in buying vaccines for the common mwananchi out there in Makueni, in Murang'a, in Nairobi, in Kiambaa constituency. We should be finishing Agenda 4 projects. For instance, there's so many roads which we should be constructed. We should be thinking about poverty. The many people, millions of Kenyans who are unemployed currently. But now we are using 14 billion to conduct a referendum, which in my view, those are issues which can be done in Parliament.
I wish these statements were made in the rooftops of those VXs when they were in Condell, and said, please don't come near my car, go home, there's COVID, you know? They are super spreaders. They are busy taking pictures, you know, and saying, look at how big our crowd is.
No,
you know?
It's inhuman. I can tell you, promoters of BBI, they should be thinking about the poor person currently.
What you saw yesterday?
Yes.
You saw exactly. I don't understand our politicians. I don't understand
our people.
No, our politicians. Why are they doing that?
But you haven't said anything about some of your people who are spreading those pictures and saying, please, our boss, we love you. We want to elect you as president. Can you tell these people to go home? They are getting COVID in the middle of you addressing them. You understand?
No, for me, to the best of my knowledge,
but let me say this.
The president is on record as saying that we should be putting more focus on matters developmental. It is your coalition or Core Kenya that is busy talking about BBI instead of talking about poverty. You are talking about BBI instead of talking about unemployed youths in this Republic of Kenya. It is
the reality.
It is Raila Odinga and his brigade which are talking about BBI instead of talking about problematic healthcare in this republic.
The reality, Jeff, is this. The reality is that an ideal situation, if all of us were ideal, is that we should have concluded these processes a while back, so that they are not put too close to the election so that we don't create animosity from the referendum and transpose it into the election. Ideally, it's an ideal situation, but I don't see to advise, and I have not been paid to advise, because this should have been done earlier so that we don't create a conflict. The fact is that if the economy is important, but you cannot fix the economy in a country where there is political upheaval. Somali doesn't talk about the economy because they don't even have government. So you need to look for peace and then make sure that the economy is prospering. This idea that we will have divisive elections every 5 years is hurting the economy. And it will hurt the economy post-COVID, because COVID is not going to be with us forever. COVID is going to go away. But we're still going to have the problem with our elections. And if we don't fix our elections, and the way things are going, and from the by-elections where Kang'ata was busy celebrating in Juja, the ones you saw in Bonchari, the one you saw in Matungu, that is a very bad sign. And that should worry us more than many of the things that people are talking about. Can we correct our politics, make sure that we have a peaceful country? 9th of August, 10th of August, Jeff, you come back here, we sit, Kang'ata has lost, Mutula has won, etc., etc. Somebody has been sworn in as president, another one is official position or is a loser, and that's it, we move on. Yeah. Because that's more important. The people who are looking up there to invest in this country, and have been to several places, are looking at a country where we do not have to enter into election cycles every 5 years, because people start worrying. People are worried, and they are worried because it appears again that as if we are going to the same kind of presidential elections where it's tie break, where it's a photo finish, that sort of elections. And the politicians are pushing us to that, and it is going to happen.
But you see, there's no connection between...
Senator just said you're going to lose, huh? You heard?
Who? Tanga?
No, you.
I don't know what he means. But you see...
I said, we appear here, you say, Kang'ata has lost, Mutula has won. You missed that one.
Yeah. No, anyway, for me, I don't see the correlation between peaceful election and BBI. In fact, by the way, I see the opposite, because BBI is about creating positions for politicians. You expand the executive, you create structures that are so expensive to the poor Kenyans. You are talking, you know, there's a report that we were given in the legal committee by the budget committee, the budget office of the parliament, which says that if BBI passes, Kenyans will be paying annually an extra 20 billion Kenya shillings. To me, is that something to assist in peace building in this republic, or aren't you creating more positions for politicians instead of using those billions to create employment opportunities for our young people?
But don't you agree with what the senator said, that every 5 years there's that tension, there's that, you know, we miss out? Or, you know, even investors don't want to touch this place because they know we're going into this period. They know we're going into a tense period.
I agree.
And they know that the outcome, you know, might be ugly.
I agree.
It's going to be tear gas on the streets.
I agree with you, but BBI is not the solution. The solution for me would be we review the electoral laws. Maybe let's say, for instance, the IBC Act, the Elections Act, but BBI is not talking anything, is not touching on Elections Act. So for me, we are proposing wrong remedy for the correct problem. So for me, please, we put more effort on that.
I'll come to the BBI in a little moment. Let me just ask you real quick, without preempting what's going to happen in the Court of Appeal. What do you think some of the arguments are going to be by the appellants? What do you think, without preempting them?
The appellants are going to say you are too personal. You never considered material that was before you. You were misled. You are misguided. You misunderstood the import and text of the Constitution and Article 257.
And they'll argue that.
Yeah, you misinterpreted the law completely. You flagrantly disregarded the law. You'd say that because then I believe if some of the things that they are said ideally are constitutional by themselves. So you would argue strongly about promoting the Constitution. Now, strictly speaking, the persons in a popular initiative, I'm not talking about in a parliamentary initiative, the threshold is what Kang'ata used to do. Make sure you either have numbers or no numbers. If you don't get 2/3, it fails. In a popular initiative, the threshold is the people. Ideally, that's why you should go and say, Kang'ata should go and tell the people of Murang'a, this is wrong, you're going to pay more, you don't need constituencies, I'm going to bring you food instead, I'm going to bring wealth instead, I'm going to create businesses for you, forget about this. We know we are providing a better solution than a peaceful election, sharing positions instead of 70 constituencies. Can I do something different? And then explain to Kenyans why the government has not managed to do anything useful with the money that we have given, the money they have borrowed, the money they have stolen, those sort of things. You ought to explain all those things together in the same sentence.
It's going to be a tough one.
Absolutely.
Your thoughts?
For me, on the part of the respondents, they will be saying the High Court judgment was very sound, was very correct. Of course, they will also be raising issues concerning some of the representation. If Orengo comes to argue a case on behalf of the appellants, there's a principle in law we call the extropel. It says you cannot say one thing today, then tomorrow you say another thing. I'm told there's an application that has been filed by the respondent
to say,
to bring in that report by JKLive, the joint report, showing Orengo signed a report saying part of BBI is unconstitutional. So he is there now saying, oh, BBI is okay, whereas in Parliament there is a record showing Orengo saying
that is
BBI is unconstitutional.
Such a frivolous application.
It's a point, Secondly, they'll be saying, for instance...
I hope they're not listening to you.
No,
this is bad free legal advice.
Secondly, remember, BBI was knocked off on the basis of so many grounds, I think about 17. So you need a lot of evidence. You need to show with a lot of force that all those 17 grounds were frivolous or fake. Yeah. And that really for me is a huge task.
17 grounds? No, we have done 100. That's nothing.
No, it is a fact. So, okay.
These are senior councils, Bwana. These are not first-year students. What is this man talking about? 17 grounds.
No.
It's deadly.
Serious people.
It's a serious legal experience.
It doesn't matter.
17 grounds is nothing.
It doesn't matter. And thirdly, and I think my colleague has supported me on that point, what the executive is doing by attacking judiciary, you are creating a toxic atmosphere on the part of judiciary that if for any reason they overturn the decision of the High Court, some people will stand and say, you have done that because of the public and political pressure. You are not an independent institution. So it makes sense for political players out there to keep quiet, to allow judiciary to be independent, render justice without intimidation.
Yeah, you're damned if you do,
damned if you don't. You know, by the way, somebody is one friend of Kang'ata talked about geese and duck.
Go on.
You know what's good for the goose must be good for the gun. That's not. But the point I'm making is that judiciary in 2017 that they were criticizing in 2017, it's the same judiciary. I was telling the Attorney General in a separate platform where we were speaking about the appointment of judges. I said, there's a way you have to approach this court because you are the same persons who want to persuade, because you don't argue by force. In our jurisdiction, you persuade. You don't force your argument. You persuade your argument that your 17 grounds of appeal are so monumental that they must be allowed totally or in majority. So in attempting to persuade the court about the fact that they believe in the rule of law, they should advise a lot of the people in the political space to find a newspaper, a comic book, or a cartoon to watch, because it's important that they allow the lawyers in the matter to argue the proceedings without appearing to dictate from the back.
They don't need to watch cartoons. It's on TV every day. Like you just said, what's good for the goose?
It's good for the gander.
As opposed to the duck. Okay. Senator, tell me something. Why is BBI so important to its promoters? And I'll ask you the same thing. Why is it so important? It seems like a do or die for the president and the former prime minister. Why is that?
politics. It is pure politics, high-grade politics. The political underpinnings of BBI is to exclude William Samoei Ruto from power. Of course, it's not spoken, but every Kenyan, I'm sure, understands the politics behind BBI. Why do I say so? If the process was bona fide, it was not mala fide, that is in bad faith, they would have called him, they would have granted him audience. It would have been more consultative process. But now you find a situation where they do launching, and then you can clearly see that they are trying to exclude deputy president. Okay, if they were bona fide, after BBI case has been lost in High Court, they would agree to a suggestion by my colleague here, who very good suggestion. He said, okay, fine, BBI is dead. Why can't we take it through parliamentary initiative? Which, by the way, I would have supported. In fact, by the way, some of the proposals in BBI, they are my original ideas. Remember, I had proposed World Development Fund bill. It passed in the Senate. It went to the National Assembly. It is stalled. So, if they were bona fide, yes, exactly, 1 man, 1 shilling, it is still my idea. But now, you know what they want to do? They want now they take it to the referendum. They hope they are going to win, so that they say, aha, William Samoei Ruto is now finished politically. You have defeated him. Now we are going to kobo a coalition that is going to take us into 2022. So it is politics. They take it to the 180.
Just to isolate.
Remember, can you look how they did it in Parliament? They mobilized members of Parliament to support Kalonzo, Musalia Mudavadi, Kieleweke, and they went now to form a coalition. In fact, I thank members of Parliament from Mount Kenya, because vast majority of them supported William Ruto and the No camp. Otherwise, they want to show William Ruto support is only in, what is it called, in Kalenjin land. And again, also, the God loves deputy president. Immediately after BBI case was lost, what happened? Supporters of William Ruto won in Rurie in Central. They won in Juja in Central. I hope John Jogona Wawanjiko will win at your birthplace in Kiambaa with UDA. So that way, the evil plans to isolate deputy president will have been punctured.
Okay, your turn.
I'm not a promoter, and neither do I hold brief from the promoter. But if the concept about ensuring that, and the concept worked in the, if you recall, Jeff, in the National Accord, I mean, there is not any different from the National Accord, because the National Accord between Kibaki and Raila gave birth to the 2010 Constitution, isn't it? That we are busy enjoying, that has put Senator Kang'ata in office and myself. How is it any different? How is it that at that point nobody said that Raila wanted to be president? So that is a myopic argument. In my mother tongue we call it wheelbarrow pusher something that you can only see beyond the wheelbarrow.
You hear they don't respect the common mwananchi who push you a wheelbarrow.
Vision. No, that's how we call it. You can't
degrading mikokoteni.
The opposition. The opposition, and let me tell you why I think that these people are even, they themselves. William Samoei Ruto opposed the 2010 Constitution, correct?
Yeah, he was in the No camp.
He was in the No camp.
Yeah.
Who are the greatest beneficiaries of this Constitution, particularly on devolution? And this good gentleman here did the revenue sharing formula where the bulk of the beneficiary came from North Rift. It's them. So it cannot be. It is also possible that he will be a good beneficiary of cobbling up a coalition. Why would you think that the coalition wants to fight you? Why didn't you say that I want Kang'ata from Murang'a because he wants to be a deputy president?
No,
you pick Oparanya from Kakamega, and then you pick Mutua from Machakos, so that you have what you call a national outlook. What is the problem with that? So that's a myopic argument. The opposition is simply because it appears to them that somebody is cobbling up a coalition to defeat them. This gentleman was with me in Naivasha, where we had convened with the president and the deputy prime and the prime minister, former prime minister. And he disclosed to us how they came up with the BBI team. This gentleman is not going to say that in public. How the names were picked to pick the BBI team and the involvement of the deputy president, we were told. I can't repeat it here because we all spoke in confidence.
But he was there.
He was the whip. He was whipping the people who he didn't perceive that were supporting BBI, like my good friend Senator Malala, were locked at the gate by my friend here, Kang'ata.
And now
he's turning around, and he was there in the meeting, clapping more than anybody else about what the things that were happening. So I'm simply saying that we cannot, as a country, put everything in the prism of election politics. That's the problem I have. Because we don't know who is going to be president in 2022. But what are you going to do in 2027? Don't you think that a country ought to plan 20 years, 50 years? But what is the reality? Jeff, the reality of the matter is the current constitution where we have cabinet secretaries picked from out there, one from Murang'a, one from Kisii, one from here, is not working. It has not worked. Yeah. It does not help us. Kang'ata can confirm. Two, is also the presidential system is also not working the way we wanted it. We did a trial and error. It's not working the way we thought it would. In reality, it's not helping us. The winner takes all is also not working. It's not helping us. We are still going to the same things that we are trying to avoid in 2007, 2008. Irrespective of the success of BBI, the fact is that we have a problem, we have to address it, and we have to address it quickly. Otherwise, as they say, history repeats itself. We'll go back to where we are in 2007, 2008.
And there's someone who once said, definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again
and expecting a different result.
The original intention and goals of BBI were very noble.
Because you were in the room.
Absolutely.
You were there.
And kicking everybody out.
No.
Yes.
No. The original intentions of BBI were very good.
Yes.
Why? Because remember, it was about bringing Kenyans together. It was about a handshake. We supported them. But how it morphed into amendment to the constitution, we don't know.
What do you mean?
Look here, go check the terms of the reference of the first BBI.
The 9 points.
It has nothing to do with changing the constitution.
What?
But the day it now morphed into a review of the constitution, now people started to ask, okay, what is happening? No. People started now becoming, okay, fine, let us see the proposals. They are proposing to increase positions. Not positions for the Wanjiku. Not adding more food on the table for the poor person in Murang'a or Kibwezi or Kiamba. It is about creating prime minister, deputy prime minister, positions for politicians. Okay, it's not about strengthening judiciary. It's about creating a policeman who is going to oversight judiciary called, ombudsman. It's not about thinking about the poor person of this republic. It is about politicians. It's about appropriating more powers to us. It's about expanding parliament. Parliament, if BBI passes, will be comprised of about 600 members of parliament, both in the Senate and the National Assembly. That will be a double-decker parliament. Surely, is that the Kenya we want? A Kenya that has about 48 million population. We are proposing to create almost 600 members of parliament. Compare that to a place like USA, where they only have about 50 senators, or about 100 senators in a country of 300 million persons. Surely, can we afford that? So for me, I had no problem with BBI. I had no problem with the handshake until I saw the text of the document.
Which one?
Then,
which text?
Listen, this document we are debating. Remember how I was removed to become from the chief whip position? Because I raised issues. I was originally a key supporter of the entire process. But I realized this document is becoming exclusive, is becoming discriminatory. I raised issues. I wrote a letter.
You wrote a letter?
And I was told, denounce this letter. I said no. So for me, it's about principles. It's about the larger cause of fighting for the right thing, even if it meant I lose my prestigious positions.
You wrote a letter that leaked.
He wrote an open letter that leaked.
Yes.
Or it was a sealed, but it was open. I don't understand.
One day we'll have to review that.
We have to review what
were you thinking?
You know?
No, but my predictions are coming to
What prediction?
I said BBI as a problem. The courts have indicated me. I said this is a political problem in terms of Mount Kenya people supporting government. Government has been losing various by-elections in our region. They lost in Murang'a, they lost in Juja, in Kiambu, they lost in Rurie, Nyandarua, they lost in Nakuru. Yeah. Now I foresee in Kiamba, John Jogona of UDA.
You see him.
It was like he will win.
Are you listening?
Yeah.
I can hear.
Yeah. So no, the point is, I wish they listened to me in January.
But you know, your boss could have listened to you.
Yeah.
He could have listened to you.
I wish they listened to me.
But
now
look, you chose to write a letter and leak it.
Imagine.
Did I?
Who does that?
Oh, did I leak? Do you have evidence?
You write a love letter, but you don't put it in an envelope.
No.
I mean,
I wrote it with a lot of
love.
No, in good faith. In good faith.
Yeah, in good faith.
Because of the love.
Now imagine, you know, this gentleman had access
to the man.
You know,
he could walk
direct access, possibly WhatsApp access.
Correct.
Where he would have said, you know, look, boss, you know this. Can we review this thing? You know, before it becomes a problem. You know, and like us who have been on the outside, like him looking inside, he has been on the inside. Now he's with us on the outside.
No.
But he writes a letter and then leaks it.
Wait, sorry. Listen.
Go on.
He's saying he's outside.
He was outside. He's outside.
No,
It's
outside the tent.
He is not.
How?
In fact, let me tell you, one of the problems people have with this government from my region, Mount Kenya, the people who fought so hard for this government, they are being excluded, shunted out of power. These guys, Raila Odinga is enjoying power despite fighting strongly against our friend President Uhuru Kang'ata.
But that's
we feel so bad.
It's about.
We feel so bad.
Senator, wasn't that what the handshake was about? If it wasn't, there would be Monday demonstrations.
Yes.
There would be Thursday riots.
Absolutely.
There would be Tuesday whatevers.
Yes.
No, I support the handshake between President Uhuru Kang'ata and Raila Odinga, but it ought not to have been about excluding William Ruto, removing all supporters of William Ruto, prosecuting them. It's so inhuman. A person who has stood with you 100% for two elections.
You know,
for two elections.
By then maybe we ought to go off camera so that this man can tell us. He is the one who removed, for example, Senator Kihika, Senator Murang'a.
No.
Right.
Yeah, do you know why?
So on whose behalf was
do you know why? Me, I was told, okay, do this. Guy, of course, by my party, these guys, they are not assisting the president to do his work. Fine, can you do these changes? So, okay, I did that. So I thought, that doesn't mean I can't speak my mind. But the day I spoke,
you thought it never happened to you?
No. I thought
you sharpened the razor blade.
No, I never thought. Supporting government, it meant I curtail my freedom of expression. If now I'm realizing you are supposed to just follow.
Ask yourself this question.
Questions.
This gentleman.
No,
I don't agree with you.
As a problem.
At what point did you all that time that you were getting your instructions and doing things quietly without anybody knowing, removing your own colleagues, now that you're on the same side, you never voiced anything, you never wrote a letter? At some point, when he got to Damascus, he decided to write a letter. You know, I don't believe him. I don't believe Kang'ata. One bit.
No,
because let me tell you.
They are eating our sweat. Motula Kinonzo.
What sweat am I eating from you? What are you? I'm the same.
Yeah,
I'm still in the same position you found me and left me.
These guys are eating our sweat.
Which one? No. And I don't want to eat your sweat.
No.
What is this man talking about?
No,
what benefit have you seen, Jeff?
No, Jubilee
come to me that has been denied to this gentleman here.
No, Jubilee
Which one
is unveiling billions of shillings, projects worth billions of shillings. Where? In Nyanza. It's good, of course.
They are Kenyans?
Of course, they are Kenyans. But When is the last time did you see such kind of launch in let's say in Kiambu?
There's a dual carriage going to your place. There's a dual carriage. We borrowed money.
Let me tell you
in the framework to borrow money. Wait a minute.
No, can you go to Kiamba, a place called Gashi? Go to Kiamba.
Well, listen to me.
A place called Gashi, Kehara. The road there is so pathetic.
It's just 3 kilometers of it.
So pathetic.
3 kilometers.
So
Only.
pathetic. Go to Kehara, Gashi Road. So pathetic. And so many other roads.
This gentleman knows
so pathetic.
that we are doing an 84-kilometer road
what are you talking about?
from Keno, that place where they caused
right.
mayhem.
All the way.
A dual carriage. And I have never seen an inch of tarmac where I come from. When did I get independence? What are you talking about?
Exactly. Why did you vote for BBI?
I know what you're saying.
For me,
yes.
As a
how can you
Senator
complain?
Murang'a, I'll be happy. Most importantly, the day I'll see coffee farmers being paid 300 shillings per kilogram of coffee. That's the day I'll be
They're getting 140.
No, they are being paid 50, 60 shillings per kilogram of coffee.
All right,
that's
gentlemen.
the day I'll be happy. The day I'll be seeing Murang'a farmers being paid 100 shillings a litre of milk.
I think you just want this handshake thing to end, don't you?
Yeah.
I think that's what you want.
No.
Let's face it.
I want William Samoei Ruto to be included in the handshake. I want a handshake for 3 people. President Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, William Ruto, and everyone else. I believe in one love, one heart, togetherness, no divisions.
One love sounds like reggae.
It's reggae. Jah Rastafari. This guy.
No.
Is behind the legalization of marijuana, this fellow.
No, for me, I want togetherness.
By the way,
I don't want
looking at the events yesterday.
Yes.
It looked like one love, did it not?
Absolutely.
Even for Deputy President William Ruto.
Yes.
No, how do you give Raila Odinga an opportunity to speak after Deputy President?
What is that?
How do you have...
Wait.
You
Okay,
guys
I'm going to take a break. I want to take a break and
Please take a
come back
break.
and talk about this.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
And make a short commercial, please. We can't let Kang'ata go away with this.
Honestly,
of this republic.
That's the former Prime Minister's backyard.
Yes.
No, the Deputy President is the Deputy President of this republic.
So?
Not about backyards.
Imagine.
He's the second in command.
You're taking that personally now.
No. He's the second in command. You breach protocol.
Okay.
You breach protocol.
Take a break, man.
No. By the way,
Make some money for the studio and then we come back and deal with him.
My goodness. You honestly, you took it that personally.
No. We don't mind, by the way, because
We.
us supporters of William Ruto, we don't mind because,
Yeah. Let's take a break.
Sympathy
Let's take a
votes.
break. Jeff Koinange live. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Exactly 2 minutes. Back in a moment.